Hello, lovely peoples of the internet. Welcome to Observation Conversations. My name is Reid.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we have a special surprise for all of you. We're not dead.
We're not dead. We are back, we think. Are we back?
I'm hoping to be back. It remains to be seen whether we'll be back in regular intervals. But, it had been a while. Life caught up. Life gets in the way sometimes, but life also finds a way. So do you want to run why we're jumping back into things?
Yeah. Well, we thought we would do a little bit of a story time to kick things off, get back into the swing of things, address where we've been, why the podcast has been on such a long hiatus, and address hopefully a little bit of what we want to do now that we're back, and what you might be able to expect from us in the weeks and months ahead. So to kick off, I think why don't we address why we stopped when we did, just kind of the thinking around that time, and what kind of led to the fits and starts of, because we did a couple of episodes in 2022 last year. So what was going on there, and then what brings us to this reinvigoration now? So, of course, the last time this podcast was airing regularly was at the end of 2021. And that was kind of a unique period of time for both of us because at the time I was getting ready to move up to Orlando to start my time at UCF, and you were already looking ahead to your own transferring in the next year. And of course, last year, and I don't know if we've really addressed this on the podcast yet, but you started at NYU Film School, which was a huge deal.
Yeah. So over the summer, I had my first, it was like a brief summer semester, but it was like a, 9 hours a day class, Monday through Friday, for, I guess, all of August, I think there's like 2 sections you could have picked, and I did August because I was not ready to start in June, but things kind of took off from there. I had pretty much all of August I was in school, and then I had about 2 weeks, and then fall semester picked up. That rolled in the spring semester.
Absolutely.
And things have just been really, really busy, I guess.
Absolutely. And so at the end of 2021, on the eve of all of these developments, of course, we had just the most fun doing the podcast in 2021. It had been something that we talked about for years. We told this whole story on our last episode of 2021, which was a really lovely special, just kind of recapping the whole journey of how we got from the genesis of this idea to the final product in 2021. And so I would recommend go watch that video if you want to kind of get the real inside scoop and how all of this came about. But of course, it had been something that we talked about for a very long time, and we finally gave it a shot. Total novices. Neither of us had ever done anything like this before. But we thought, hey, you know what? We've got some time on our hands, so why don't we give it a shot? And we had, again, just an incredible time. So much fun doing it. We loved doing the reviews. We loved keeping you guys updated on news of what was happening, trailers, so on and so forth.
And to be very clear, most of this really is just an excuse for us to like talk and catch up every week.
Absolutely.
But it was also an opportunity to create a project that gets put out there in the world.
Absolutely.
Whether eventually gains more viewership or not, who's to say? But realize it's for our benefit, and we just love doing it.
Absolutely. And so, of course, it wasn't an easy decision when we decided to go on hiatus, but we did it because we thought it would be necessary, first with my own getting busier starting at UCF, and then, of course, with you and your busy schedule with NYU. And I have to say, looking back on that decision, looking back on that period of time, I would be lying if I said I didn't regret it a bit, maybe more than a bit, because In honest truth, I can understand why it made sense at the time to play it safe and say, let's take a break because I don't know what the demands in my time are going to look like once I make this change. But honestly, and I'll just speak for myself, it wasn't like I was so busy that I couldn't have done this, and I began to miss it terribly. And so that's what I think led us into trying to get things started again last summer, where we put out those couple of episodes. But of course, the tricky thing was, and we tried something different in those couple of episodes because we had already established that for all the pride that we had in what we did in 2021, and we are so proud of what we did in that time, we wanted to try to make the show a little more freeform, a little more casual, as a way to essentially make it easier to produce instead of always revolving around reviewing things, which is what we did for the most part.
Easier to produce, and also, I personally felt that when we were putting a structure around our own conversation, it almost limited kind of the natural banter that normally forms. And so this was an opportunity to just kind of show what it's more like when we're just talking in general.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's kind of, I know it looked a little random from the outside when you look at the videos we tried to put out in 2022, but that was the reasoning behind it. Was we said, let's do something a little more freeform, a little more just spur the moment and see how that works. And I'd say it was a good experiment, but of course, then we ran into another roadblock in the form of course, now you had NYU to take care of, and that was a huge new demand on your time. And so, whatever momentum that we might have had building up from those handful of episodes last summer, just we couldn't keep up. The scheduling never quite seemed to work out, and that's why we slipped into this, I guess, kind of second hiatus, if you will. But that desire to restart things never left us, and getting back into it again is something that we've talked about for a while now. And I think it's safe to say for both of us, Reid, you let me know if you feel this way as well, is that the more time passed and we weren't doing this, the more it really began to eat away at me how much I missed it. Because as you said, we have so much fun doing this, and getting back into it again would be a great opportunity to, in my mind, get back to basics and get back to what made us fall in love with doing this in the first place. When we started this, we had no expectations whatsoever that anyone would actually watch or be interested in what we're making. We may as well have been two guys shouting into the void for all anybody cared, but that was fine because we loved what we were doing and we were having fun doing it. And we didn't take ourselves too seriously at the start. We tried to make something that looked good and looked semi-professional, or at least not like we were total amateurs. And, we put a lot of thought into different things, but it was just for fun first and foremost. And while that sense of fun never went away, we did try to hold ourselves to a higher standard as things went on, and that comes with, and then that becomes more demanding in various ways, and the responsibilities increase, especially as, our own schedules ebb and flow and we get more busy, less busy, so on and so forth. And so what an incredible opportunity for us now to get back to basics. And again, maybe no one will watch this. I mean, who's to say what interest there will actually be in this? But we wanted to get back to basics.
Who cares?
Exactly. Exactly.
I know that like in the time we weren't regularly recording episodes, the amount of time you and I were just regularly talking too also just dipped. Because, like I said, this was kind of our weekly thing, and like we would chat, when we played games, and we'd have, we fell back into this old routine from high school, where like every 2 or 3 months we'd have one call that was like 6 hours long just to catch up, and then we wouldn't talk for a while after that, because I think both of us are like terrible texters.
It's true, yes.
So we were starting to like fall back into that pattern. I was just like, man, I miss this guy. I miss talking to this guy regularly, because it's it makes my week every time we do it. So we're trying to get back into it.
Absolutely. And so that's, I hope, a semi-decent explanation for why there have been these long breaks in between December of 2021 and now. But that's not to say that nothing happened on the Reid and Jonathan front in 2022, because of course there were some notable developments. I know that we did broach our first meeting in 2022 in Allentown in probably I think the best video that we made last year, recapping our trip in Allentown, where you and Emmanuel drove out. I happened to be in Allentown, Pennsylvania for my brother's wedding. And that was an incredible day that we spent together. And so definitely go check out that video if you want to get the full story behind that. There was some fun stuff that happened there.
If you're a fan of axe throwing, if you're a fan of trick shots, watch that video. You will be disappointed.
Absolutely. And also one of the best thumbnails you've ever made, by the way. Really fantastic.
Yeah, I was really happy with that one. Thank you.
And so that was the first development. And honestly, if 2022 had been a normal year, this ended there. But as it happens, for the two of us, 2022 is anything but a normal year. And we actually had a chance.
Really, I mean.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there were definitely significant events. But for us, we actually had a chance, and this is virtually unheard of in the past 7 years, better part of a decade. We got to see one another in person, not once, not twice, but 3 different times just in that calendar year, which was just the most amazing thing. And so I don't know, should we talk a little bit about what that looked like, because we had some really wonderful memories from those visits.
Yeah, I mean, we did the Allentown one, and the next one was July 4th.
Yes.
Yeah. And I should say I, being, the camera person of the friend group, recorded a lot of that, and we did a fair amount of vlogging, and that's like another project where I was going to compile that into a video, but then the podcast kind of fell off and I never got around to that. So hopefully this summer when we revitalize this, I'll also be able to go back and take a look at that and finally put that together into a nice video. But yeah, we had this July 4th trip, which amazing time.
Fantastic. And so basically, to give the folks just kind of a basic outline of what it was, for a long time now, we had thought it would be great if we could do something where we got all of our old friend group together on July 4th and just hung out for a few days, get an Airbnb and do the whole thing. And this plan underwent several evolutions over the years. It actually had its origins even before COVID. When we first discussed it,
we were going to do like July 4th in Washington D.C.
Absolutely, and that was going to be in 2020, of course. Yeah, this was just before COVID hit, and the plan was to go down to D.C. and spend a long weekend in D.C. with the 5 of us. But of course, COVID put the kibosh on that. And then there wasn't really an opportunity to do that in 2021. But in 2022, the stars aligned and we finally made it happen. And so what it looked like was, of course, going to UCF. I was living in Orlando. And so I flew up to New York for the weekend just before July 4th. I was there for about, I want to say 5 days, I think it was.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 days, including the days that I was flying in and out.
Because it was like 4 nights, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And it was phenomenal. Just to give the people this detail, I doubt these names will mean anything to them, but of course it was Reid and myself, Emmanuel, friend of the show, Greg, who's also been on the show before, also our very good friend Harry, who actually was in town from Chicago, where he goes to Northwestern, and also
now he just lives there.
Yeah, that's true.
He went to Northwestern. Now he's living there full time. But we were lucky enough to get him out here for a couple days.
Absolutely, which was wonderfully kind of him to fly out. Yes, to your point, he's since graduated, but he's just living out there now. He's a full-on Chicagoan. And we also had a very special appearance from my cousin and very good friend Taj as well. So it was actually 6 of us in the end. and it was wonderful. We went into New York City a couple of times actually. Of course, we watched the fireworks on July 4th. We saw Top
Except
Gun
for me.
Maverick, which was wonderful. Reed was not sad. Reed sadly could not.
Yeah, I had
participate in
it
July
was it
4th
was funny because like the one person who wanted to get everyone together more than you was probably me. I mean, you probably more than me, but like the two of us were planning this trip.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get everyone together on July 4th. We're gonna watch the fireworks together. It's gonna be great. And then I get a call. I was like, "Hey, I need you to cover this fireworks show in Bloomfield." And I'm like, "Well, guess I'm not
shit.
hanging out with you guys, but
Yeah. It was sadly Reed was indisposed for most of July 4th, but you were able to join us by the end of the day at least.
Yeah, that evening I came back to the Airbnb and I was there the entire time for the other days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did mini golf. We went mini golfing one day. So yeah, we did a bunch of fun stuff, and it was just.
Do you remember who won that?
Gosh, I think it was. Funnily enough, I actually kept my score booklet. I don't remember exactly where it is, but
I want to say
won?
Greg won.
It might have been Greg. That's a good question. I
don't know. When it comes to mini golf, I either do really, really well or really, really poorly.
Yeah.
And there's usually no in between.
Likewise, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way. I feel like I would remember if it was me, so I don't think it was me.
No.
For some reason I want to say it was Harry or Emmanuel. For some reason I feel like I remember one of them being our ultimate winner. But it was quite the shootout though. I mean, it was very close by the end. And so that was fantastic. We went on a hike that same day. Really it was like checking off a wish list of a bunch of these things that we'd wanted to do for a long time. Now that we had finally been reunited for the first time in years, all of us, and it was a wonderfully special time. And we had this great Airbnb in Newark. We had this upper floor apartment of this house, which was just perfect for our purposes because it had, and this was a fairly affordable Airbnb too, and it had 2 bedrooms, nice kitchen, nice living area, big living room, with couches that could sleep a few people.
That's what made it great for 5-6 people because we were like, we're going for a sleepover vibe, so we're gonna be in sleeping bags, and like some people did pick the bedrooms, but like we didn't need.
Namely me. I will fully own. Yeah. I was one of them. Yes.
Yeah, but we didn't need 4 or 5 bedrooms, which is also what helped the price.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I mean that place was just terrific, and yeah, we pretty much played Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart, and we tried out Harry's board game. Harry's made a wonderful board game with a few friends and colleagues of his, which is actually for sale now, I believe, or he has a Kickstarter going now for.
Yeah, he has a Kickstarter. I ordered a copy via Kickstarter. I believe they're in production, but they're not shipping out yet. But it's called
Factions of Soul.
Factions of Soul, yes, by Mark IV Games.
Yes.
Really, really fun, really well thought out and put together. I think just mark4games.com. Check it out because it's absolutely terrific. Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely terrific. Yeah, if you're a fan of strategy games like I am and tabletop games, definitely check it out. Factions of Soul. We had a chance to try it. And I know it's only been developed further since then, but yeah, really fun time. And so that whole trip was just fantastic. And, we put a lot of planning into it. We put a lot of thought into it. And I think everybody had a really wonderful time. And we covered a lot of ground in just those 5 days as well, which was really fantastic. And honestly, it was just great because after having talked about doing something like this for so long, to actually be able to do it and be in a position to do it and know that we could pull this off ourselves was really just fantastic. And so that was a great time. And honestly, if the story of us meeting in 2022 had just ended there, that would have been just fine because that was a really terrific trip. And
then 5 months later.
Yes, and so after that, of course, I returned to Orlando. A few months pass, and the idea creeps in again. I start thinking, God, that July 4th trip went so well, so well. And wouldn't it be good? This is a crazy idea, but let me just throw this out there to Reid. Wouldn't it be good if we did it again? if we just took that template and just did it again? It worked so well the first time. And I said, well, you know what? This was by this point, it was about, I think, October 2022. And so we've got the holidays coming up. It'll be here before you know it. And another idea that had been circulating for a long time is we could do a Friendsgiving where we would all get together and do like a Friendsgiving type thing. And so I thought, well, you know what? Not sure if we'll have as much time as we would want over Thanksgiving. And obviously that might be a little more logistically difficult with people planning around their own family's plans. But what if we just take that same idea and take the same template from July 4th and repurpose it and repackage it into a holiday trip? We've got, Christmas coming up. What if we all got together and just before Christmas and did a little holidays with the boys type thing? And I told this idea to Reid. Honestly, I had no idea what he would think or say. I mean, I know that it's a big thing to ask, because even though I'm the only one who's actually getting on a plane and traveling someplace, it is a financial commitment from everybody. We all want to pitch in for an Airbnb. Of course, it's a time demand, and so you just have no idea how people are going to react when you put this idea on the table.
I will say, every single time you come up here, I'm like, hey, you can stay at my place. It's cool. And you're like, no, I want to be independent and pay for my own place. So I'm like, I want to. If you're gonna stay somewhere else, let me stay with you. So we're at least like spending more time together.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why we split the Airbnb. But
yeah, absolutely. And so that was definitely my stubbornness coming back into the fold. But I mentioned this idea to Reid, and sure enough, you loved the idea and you said, let's go for it. And I'm so glad that we started that thinking about this trip at that point, because the July 4th trip, I was kind of the one that got the ball rolling on that, and I kind of made myself the self-appointed head of planning for that trip. I love travel and thinking about travel and planning trips, so this was right up my alley. I love planning this stuff out, and so I didn't mind doing it, and I think we did a fantastic job on that July 4th trip. But by bringing this idea to you exclusively first and having you be so bought into it and believing in it like I did, it was incredibly liberating for me, because I felt like, I have a true partner in the planning of this and the execution of this, not just because obviously we're all getting together to hang out and have fun, and, don't ever want to forget that.
But if you out there have a friend group of like more than 2 or 3 people, you know how impossible it is to wrangle friends to go out and do something together, let alone for multiple days on end.
Absolutely. It's like herding cats.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And so to have you as a partner really along the way, every step of the way, helping to plan that was a huge load off my shoulders as we went into that. And sure enough, we made it happen. Everybody just about was able to rejoin. Sadly, Harry couldn't make it. He was detained in Chicago. Not literally detained, metaphorically.
Well, we don't know. He could have been.
Yes.
We don't know what he gets up to.
Yeah. But
back in high school, he did talk a lot about Al Capone.
That's true. That's true.
Was Al Capone Chicago, or was he?
Yeah,
Chicago, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Harry's a big South Side Syndicate fan, and so, but yes, we got Emmanuel back on board, we got Greg back on board, and we got Taj back on board. And so, sure enough, just a few days before Christmas, actually the weekend before Christmas, because Christmas fell on a Saturday, I want to say, last year, and so this was the preceding weekend from that. I flew back up to New York. We got another Airbnb. This place arguably even better than the Newark place, and it was a phenomenal time. I mean, do you want to jump in with some of your highlights before I get started?
Oof. I don't know. I mean, part of it's a little bit of a challenge, honestly, because these two trips, not just being so close together, but both being New York based, kind of blend together a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
But I will say the Airbnb specifically was an interesting challenge of sorts.
Yes.
Because of course, we're doing this trip right on the heels of July. And we're like, we just, spend a decent amount of money on that. We should try to save Wondering if we can for this, let's, rent a, 2-bedroom, but we're only going to say that one person is staying there.
Yes.
Because that way it's, a cheaper rate.
Yes.
Because the more people you have, the more they charge per night. And so was this also 4 nights, 3 nights?
Yeah, I believe it was 5 days, 4 nights, like the last time, yeah.
So 4 nights, one person. And we're like, cool. And me and Emmanuel meet up, pick you up from the airport. Or maybe he picked you up and I met up with you guys.
I took the train from the airport to Newark Penn Station, and he picked me up from there.
Yeah. But we all get to this Airbnb. First of all, we can't even like find where to get into the building. The entrance is like in the back corner of the back parking lot. So we're like circling around the block a few times, go into the parking lot, and we park, and we're like wandering around. We like wander to the front of the building, go back, finally make our way inside. Take the elevator up to the next floor, walk down the hallway, and we arrive at the door to the Airbnb. And we look down in front of us and we see, hey, that's a Ring camera. They can see us. What are the chances that they're actually monitoring? And what are the chances that it's just for, generic security?
Right.
So we're like, it's probably fine. So we unlock the door and step inside. And all is well and dandy, and we set up for the night. And then the next morning, I'm waking up, in my sleeping bag in the living room. Like I wake up late. I think both you and Emmanuel are already up, but I just hear, "Hey guys," and I'm like, "What's up?" It's like they want to charge us for the 2 extra guests we're having, and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, we are busted."
And not only that, but those were the 2 extra guests that they already knew about. We had another guest coming that day, and then another one coming the day after that.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that, but yeah, it's like, okay, well, we need to figure out what to do, because the discussions were wild too, because we were like, oh, we have access to this patio. We can just have them like hop the fence onto the patio and like go through the patio doors. Or like, oh, when we're letting people in, someone can just stand in front of the Ring camera and everyone else will walk in. But at that point, we're like, we don't want to like piss off this Airbnb person and get kicked out or get like fined. So eventually we decide, oh, we're let's just be upfront and be like, oh, there must have been some booking error. Because these 2 people are joining us, and then we have like 2 more coming later. And the host was actually super gracious about it.
Wonderful.
We got
wonderful.
Very lucky, but that first day was so stressful, man.
Yeah, it was a little bit touch and go. And
we were helping you draft emails. And like sitting by the phone waiting for the host to respond.
Yeah.
And then like the next night, one of the beds just flat out broke. Like the slats broke, and we were like, are we gonna be on the hook for this? Are they gonna take care of it?
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a thing.
It was a gamble, and we did not win.
But we didn't lose. We certainly didn't lose.
We didn't. Well, we did end up paying for the multiple people a night, so we kind of lost.
But it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been.
No, it could have been much worse. I think it just begs the question: next time we do something like this, are we gonna take that chance again or not?
Yes, and look, and I'll add this little bit of context to this part of the story. It's my own fault. I was the one who handled the booking for that Airbnb, and we got a great deal on it too, because the place that we actually originally wanted ended up canceling on us, and so Airbnb helped cover the cost of finding a new place for those same dates, which is what allowed us to get this really nice place, which we had actually originally ruled out because it was too expensive. But because
Oh
of
yeah, because
that,
Airbnb, yeah, because they were like covering part of the cost too.
exactly, yeah.
And we're
So
like, oh, are we gonna fuck this up and be on the hook for all of it?
yeah, and so
Yeah.
so since Airbnb helped cover the difference, we were able to go there. But of course, and listen, and like I said, it's my own fault. The thing about Airbnb, and I believe it's the same for hotels too, is even though you're renting this space for a set amount of time, the price increases, the per night price increases per number of occupants. Of course, the space itself isn't getting bigger as you pay more. It's just there's more people in it. So it's a little bit of this strange thing where it's like the price is scaling, but it's not like
From
the
a
size
game
is not.
theory perspective, you're actually incentivized to lie
Well, exactly.
because it's the same benefit for less cost.
And so I put down one person just for myself because in the last Airbnb we stayed at, the one for over July 4th, our host was incredibly low key. So much so to the point where I don't think we saw them once,
Nope, no.
or heard from them once, except for actually he texted me once on the last day just to give us the checkout procedure, but that's it.
Oh wait, I also forgot with that place. We also had to text them because we broke a glass.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, I think we just left like $5 or $10 on the table, and he was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
that's totally fine."
Oh, absolutely,
Um,
yeah.
we're bad guests.
No,
We're
I mean
terrible
honestly,
guests.
well, I mean, well, honestly, it wasn't done with ill intention.
No,
Obviously,
no, of course not. But
most Airbnbs they have very strict rules about no parties. They want to know exactly who's in there. They don't want their spaces being
and
used for undesirable purposes,
and it makes
and
sense because
understandably
that's
so.
someone's house or
Absolutely,
apartment. That's
yeah.
that's someone's private property. But
Understandably. And so, every host has a different attitude towards it, but you can understand why the precautions are there and why people take this so seriously. And so, but of course, our last host was wonderful, and we had no issue with, the number of people fluctuating with the last place. And so I thought, to your point, it was a gamble, but, I don't want us to be paying over $1,000 for this place that we're getting a great deal on. Let's just give this a shot. And with no belief really that it would be a significant issue. And fortunately, ultimately, it wasn't an issue. We were able to. The host noticed that we had more people in, but she was wonderfully understanding. Didn't give us a hard time at all. Just asked us to cover a little bit of extra cash for the additional people, but that was it, and was very kind about it. And so definitely that was a great host. And it's always wonderful when you get a host like that who is just who is constructive and looking for solutions instead of looking for reasons to be upset.
yeah,
And honestly, she could have
I
been
was
upset, but
she could have. I mean, she had every right to. So we got really lucky that she
yeah,
was so nice. I was just worried though, because like we are guests in someone else's house, but at the same time, we're being watched by their Ring camera. And granted, it's
from
on
the
the
outside,
from the outside, but still, that's like a kind of level of surveillance that you don't really expect.
yeah,
And we were wondering, like, oh, is there sound? Can
yes,
she hear us discussing how we're going to like compose this email in response?
yeah,
Can she hear us like trying to
all,
figure out ways to dupe her? And I'm
all of
like,
these harebrained
like
deception schemes.
this is a bad idea. We should just be completely honest and just pay. And it
Absolutely.
was,
And
I think
also,
that worked out for the best because honesty is the best policy. That's my general rule most of
sure,
the time.
absolutely.
Um, unless you're, I don't know, stealing from Whole Foods or like $1 billion industry, but
Right.
that's a
Yeah, no,
whole
absolutely.
other issue.
Yeah, and also, you can usually tell just from the listings for Airbnbs which hosts are really strict about the occupancy policy. Usually they'll put that in no uncertain terms. And the listing for this place didn't have any language that would suggest this host is going to be, going to go ballistic if we have more
Yeah.
people. And so that was another part of why I didn't think it would be a big deal. But again, fortunately, it all worked out. She was wonderfully nice. We sent her the money that she asked for right away. And it wasn't even that much. I mean, it was like, I don't know, 30, $40 per person extra.
Yeah, something like
Um,
that. Might have
and
only been 20 even.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
25.
it was not much at all.
But to like
And
a bunch of broke college kids,
yeah, yeah, well, no, it made a difference to
we're
us.
gonna try to avoid paying any amount of money if possible. But
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a wonderful place, wonderful host. As you said, I mean, it was, and this is not uncommon among Airbnbs. Oftentimes, you'll have these very almost like Where's Waldo-esque instructions, these scavenger hunt instructions for getting access to this place. And honestly, you joined us a little bit later in the afternoon. Emmanuel and I, when I first showed him the instructions,
yeah.
we had spent a significant amount of time just trying to decode the instructions to get into this place and what this actually looks like when we got there, because basically you have to enter in this particular spot, you have to park in a particular space, then you have to call a phone number, get further instructions, and then you get a code, you get buzzed in, you go inside, take the elevator up, and then there's even additional instructions to actually get inside the door to the unit itself. And so, it's the kind of place where, you have this long list of instructions for actually how to gain entry. And so that was a bit of an adventure just getting into the place. But once we were there, it was very comfortable. And
yeah, honestly, it makes me want to be an Airbnb host just to like have this convoluted list. It's like you must cross through the mines of Vormir and make your way up across the mountaintops, and like I'll do just petty shit like make the Wi-Fi password the solution to like some quadratic equation or like some calculus shit, and just
yeah, that would have been Greg's job. We would have put him in charge of getting the Wi-Fi password if that was the case.
I mean, quadratic formula I think we can all do, but if it was like calculus 2, calculus 3 level stuff,
there you go.
I don't remember how to do any of that. So
yeah, I can't be bothered. But it was an absolutely wonderful trip. I mean, we did so much. We went into New York again. We just hung out. We watched Bullet Train together. That was a lot of fun. We had a lot to say about that.
Great movie.
It's a good movie.
Flawless.
Which makes some baffling choices, and we had an extensive debate about this afterwards.
Pretty sure we woke the neighbors.
Yeah, probably. We probably did.
Like I said, bad guess.
We did just the most incredible white elephant game where we went to the where did we go? Did we go to the Meadowlands Mall?
I think so. We went to some mall.
Yeah, it was up in like the Parsippany area, the Meadowlands Mall, which is this big mall in northern New Jersey. And that was so much fun. We all
do you want to talk through that kind of experience?
Oh, absolutely.
Because so at that point we were joined by your cousin Taj.
Yes.
So it was 5 of us, right?
Yes.
So we all got to the mall and we're like, okay, here's the game plan. Meet back here in like, I don't know if it was 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
We'll meet back at this entrance. Here's your like price cap. So try not to spend more than that. Everyone go off and do your own thing. And so I kind of wait for everyone to leave. We started off in a Macy's or something.
A Macy's, yeah. It's always a Macy's, yeah.
Yeah. Every mall's entrance is a Macy's.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I waited like 5 minutes for everyone to just kind of scatter. So I could walk around the Macy's first and check that out, because I was like, clothing items are always pretty good, but under $50 at Macy's might be a challenge, but there's also some pretty good Christmas sales going on. And within like 5 minutes, I found this just like gorgeous watch that was like 50-60% off. So it was just like an easy buy. It's like, oh, this is a great watch. Someone will love it. It also has like a bracelet. Very fashionable. And then it took another like maybe 10 minutes to actually buy it. Just standing in line, waiting for a cash register to open up. And then I end up waiting another like 90 minutes while everyone slowly trickles in.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I just had so much fun doing that, because I mean, it was like the perfect white elephant pre-Christmas shopping experience, because this is a big mall and the place is packed. Everybody's out doing their shopping. This was, I think, that Saturday. And Yeah, we started in the Macy's. Everybody fanned out. Actually, on the drive over, I have the NFL Plus app on my phone, so I was able to pull up the games that were being played on that day. And the game that was happening as we were driving up was the Vikings at Indianapolis game, which for any football fans, you might remember that game. Crazy game, wild, where we just watched the Colts absolutely collapse in the most horrific fashion. And we were able to catch a bit of that live as we were driving up, which Greg and I, as kind of the resident big football fans, got a big kick out of.
Was
But
I driving that trip?
I think
Or
you
was it
may have
manual?
been. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you may have been driving.
I just want to clarify. I was not watching the game while driving.
Yeah, sadly, you were.
It was the passengers watching.
But you were certainly hearing it though.
I honestly don't even remember that you guys were listening to a game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I must have just blocked it out.
Yeah, well, we were having a ton of fun in the back seat. But yeah, we got there, we got started, and everybody fanned out, and it was just so much fun. I mean, this is probably one of the things I was most excited, the activity I was most excited for going into this trip, just because it just everything about it was just so on theme and on brand, if you want to say that, for what we were doing. And it was just so much fun, the thrill of the chase and navigating the mall and trying to find something. Of course, being a white elephant, you don't know exactly who you're buying for. You're just buying something that that hopefully any one of the possible recipients will enjoy. And so, of course, that rules out a lot of easy stuff like clothes or anything that needs to be fitted or sized. So it has to be something at least somewhat practical that they can use. And everybody had their own approach for answering what that thing is. Of course, you found that watch, which is a fantastic find. I believe someone found a Nerf gun. I forget. I was thinking probably
Emmanuel found that.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I think he found that. Which actually, I am certain I'm the one who ended up doing the most walking and running around that mall that afternoon, because
you were the last.
I was the very last.
You took so long that while the four of us were waiting, we decided, the order in which people pick out presents tonight should be decided on how little time they took.
Yes.
And so you'd be guaranteed to go first, and I'd be going last, which was the most advantageous position to be for White Elephant, because then you can see what everyone else got and decide, do I want to, pick something that they took, or take the remaining gift under the tree.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I must have done three full laps in that place by the time I was finished. I swear, I felt like I explored every corner of that place. Because look, it's true. I can be an indecisive person at times, and certainly in a moment like that where I don't want to screw it up. You want to find the right thing. There's a lot of different stores and shops to pick from, and so I walked around and around and around to the point where I actually ended up back inside Macy's at one point, and that's where I ran into Emmanuel as he was in the process of buying his gift. So I don't know if he had quite found the Nerf gun just yet, but he was in that section. And I think that's the only encounter that we had, unless I'm mistaken, before we all reconvened at the end.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else ran into each other.
Yeah, but I was able to sneak up on him and give him a bit of a fright, which was fun. But ultimately, I found myself in this gift shop, and it was a Canadian gift shop. Apparently they've got, this is like the Spencer's Gifts of Canada, I guess, but they have an outpost here in the Meadowlands Stadium, and the Meadowlands. What is it called?
I don't remember.
Is it the Willowbrook Mall?
I don't live in there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Big mall.
Big
American shopping center.
Yeah, and what I found in this shop was, the moment I saw it, I knew my search was at an end. This is perfect. And what it is was this delightful mini projector. We set a $50 limit for the gift, and it came in at just under. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, there it is. Folks, that is the mini projector that I found in the gift shop. And the moment I saw that, I said, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. Bought that immediately and reconvened with the boys. But yeah, how is it? I've never asked you, how is the projector?
It's wonderful. It's really nice. I feel part of the reason I picked it from the selection of gifts is because I had this a couple of ideas of ways I want to use it for future video projects.
Mm.
Especially taking inspiration from like the Bo Burnham Inside, where he's like performing in front of like projections of himself, and it's like this really, really trippy thing. The picture quality is great, super, super portable.
That's
But
awesome.
I didn't really consider until I got home that the walls of my room are green,
Mm.
so it doesn't make for the best projection in here. Um, and also I don't have any free walls, but
Mm.
um, I think I've tried to like get it to project onto the ceiling, and that worked decently.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, it was a fantastic get. I just remember you were like really worried because you were like, oh, is it okay if I go over $50 because of tax?
Mm. Yes.
And everyone was just like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, this is not like a hard limit. It's not like you're
Hey.
disqualified. Don't get any gifts because you spent too much money.
No, sure. Yeah, listen, when in doubt, I tend to be a stickler for the rules, so I just wanted to make sure,
No,
and
I get it. Yeah.
yeah, and so, but the moment I saw that, I knew that's what it had to be, and so bought that, made my way back to the Macy's, which was our kind of reconvening point, and I swear, because you guys were right at one exit of the Macy's, but Macy's has like four different exits to the outside, and I visited every one before I found the right one
Somehow,
where
yeah.
you guys were. But yeah, we eventually all reconvened, and
Wait, didn't you? Oh, wait, I think it was Emmanuel like went at the wrong exit and then ended up walking around the outside of the mall.
oh, maybe, yeah. And
So I guess it was just a hard exit to find, even though it was the one we came in. But they all
yeah,
look the
yeah,
same, so
yeah. It was kind of tucked off, I think, to the far side of the store. But
15 people go missing in Macy's every single year.
it's true. Every single year, every single week, is what I would say. But yeah, but we all reconvened, and that night, was actually our highest occupancy night of the whole trip because that was the night we had all five of us there: Taj, Greg, Emmanuel, yourself, and me. And we drove down from yeah, I think it's the Willowbrook Mall. And we got pizza in West Orange, and then we drove back to our place, and we had a little pizza night. We made some cocktails. Emmanuel and we got some margarita mix. We whipped that up, which was nice. And that was the night where I learned a very valuable lesson, which is that when you buy a margarita mix, you're not supposed to just pour it into a cup and drink it with the tequila. You're supposed to actually mix it, which I know who would have thought was the thing with mix in the name is intended to be mixed. But I became a mixologist that night because I I discovered that quickly that you're actually supposed to mix the syrup in with the tequila, not just pour it in on top. And it was lovely.
Hey,
But
Jago,
yes.
you're actually supposed to blend it with ice.
Oh, damn it. I was hoping you wouldn't call me out for that, but there you go.
To
Well,
be
you know what?
fair, we did not have a blender in the Airbnb, so
No,
it's
no,
not
sadly
like you
not.
had a choice.
Yeah, but it
But
was delightful. We had
I
margaritas.
would not qualify yourself as a mixologist just yet
Yeah, maybe
until
not,
you
but
figure out how to make a margarita.
yeah, but you know what? I like to think it was a valiant first attempt, and we had our pizzas, we had our margaritas, we did our white elephant exchange, which
And
was a
then
lot
we
of.
also baked mint Oreo brownies,
Yes, yes. So some
which
of the
were
most.
that's where I learned that Oreos are dairy free.
You did? Oh, yeah,
Who
yeah. But
knew? I
yeah,
did not, because the
most
center is
people.
they call the center cream,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
like
Most
those cookies are
people.
made with some kind of milk. So I was like, so Jago was like, oh, I love Oreos, and I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, no,
Do
it's
you
it's
do
a
you also love trips to the hospital? Like,
it's a very common misconception, and understandably so. But yeah, Oreos are actually, not only are they dairy free, Oreos are actually vegan, which of course not exactly what you think of when you think of vegan clean eating, but technically they are vegan. Um, And so, yeah, which I gotta say, I love a good brownie, but those brownies that we made were some of the most overwhelmingly chocolatey things I've ever put in my body. My
yeah,
God, it was wonderful, but I mean, like,
is like
so rich.
regular. I mean, well, dairy free, but it's like dark chocolate brownie with like dairy free dark chocolate chips,
And
plus like
Oreos.
yeah, plus like crushed mint Oreos and then each
Yes.
slice also had like a mint Oreo in the center, so it'd get like kind of melty and gooey.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
And
they
don't
were
get me
delicious
wrong,
though. They
I
were phenomenal.
oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I love me some chocolatey flavor. I do. I love it. But boy, even I couldn't eat more than half of one just because they're so rich.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope somebody took those home with them
I
after the
I
trip.
I took them home.
Yeah,
I
you took
finished
them
them,
home. Yeah, I
and they're
mean that.
delicious. I think the best way to eat them is like with a glass of milk,
Oh
which
yeah,
which is
I,
why you couldn't finish them. They were
exactly.
they were a bit much.
But delightful. A delightful effort. And so yeah, and we even had Harry call in that night, and we checked in with him, and that was lovely. And yeah, that was pretty much that Saturday. And just to give folks kind of a better view of the timeline, I flew in on Thursday, so Thursday was basically what you've already heard. I met up with Emmanuel. We drove over to the Airbnb. Reed obviously joined us. We got in, and that was pretty much the night. We pretty much just hung out that night. We got Popeyes that night, which was a lot of fun. We went to the local Popeyes, which is always just the most delightfully ratchet experience that you can enjoy.
Well, it's no
Uh,
Waffle House, but
no, no, not
you know,
quite, not quite. But that always has a charm all its own. And then yeah, the next day, that Friday, was the day where we figured out the whole occupancy thing. But we pretty much just hung out on that on Friday. Greg joined us. We went to a diner for breakfast, kind of a brunch sort of thing. And then did we do anything else special on Friday? I don't think we did. I think we
I
just
don't
hung
think
out.
so because I think we were just kind of. It was raining. I think was part of
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
like, oh, why don't we instead try to do more stuff on Sunday instead?
Right. Yeah, oh yeah.
So we just had a day in, and it was super chill and a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And also, one of the highlights that we did on Thursday and Friday was we set up Hinge profiles for myself and for Emmanuel, which I have to thank you guys for. I'd been waiting until we were all together, so Reed, as kind of our Hinge veteran, could give me some pointers, because I'm a total novice to the world of dating apps and just honestly dating in general, if I'm being honest. And so I wanted the advice of an expert on what to look for, and we had a ton of fun helping me set up my profile, helping Emmanuel set up his profile, going through some of our swipes, just having the classic guy talk about, what one
Trying
looks
trying to
for.
formulate like appropriate first messages that are like,
Absolutely.
polite but also worth responding to. So like usually some kind of question, but then you also have to have enough riz thrown in there.
Yes,
And
yeah.
it was a lot of disagreements actually. I think we all kind of have our own different styles,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which
but
that's also just kind of the best way to talk to people is just be yourself. But
absolutely.
I think the encouraging each other was kind of the highlight.
Oh, it was critical. I couldn't have done it without you guys. And yeah, needless to say, I know Emmanuel still uses it to this day. I still use it to this day. And so, yeah, that was kind of a legacy that began right there. And also on Friday night was the night we watched Bullet Train and had that experience, which was a lot of fun. It's
I
my
think we'll
favorite.
we'll probably cover Bullet Train in its own episode.
Oh yeah, I think so.
We should see if we can get like Greg and Emmanuel back on that too.
Oh yeah,
Because
oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
discussion got so heated so fast.
Yeah, we all had very different takes on what worked and what didn't work in Bullet Train, but suffice it to say, my favorite kind of media, be it movies or TV or what have you, is not just something that's good and competently well done and well crafted, but also something that you have just as much fun discussing it with your friends afterwards as you do even watching it in the moment. It's a
Yeah.
huge part of why I loved Westworld so much, because Westworld was that to a T. It's a really entertaining show to watch, even when it's doing some of the more frustrating storytelling things that it like to do. But it was always interesting, and I always appreciated that. And that's why I'm to this day I'm so pissed about the disrespect that Westworld has been treated by HBO Max, now just Max, when they just stripped it off there completely to save on a few bucks on royalties, which I think is so disrespectful. When this show came out, it was positioned as a almost Game of Thrones level high budget spectacle, and
I mean,
now
to be fair, it had the budget of Game of Thrones, but did not have nearly the same viewership.
no, yeah, I mean it's a very different kind of show,
I
and
think it was still profitable,
I think so. It was still
they
popular.
shouldn't have cut it. I really would have loved to get that fifth season, but
Yeah, I mean, I hope you got a chance to finish the fourth season at least before they
I
got rid of
did.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so at the end of the fourth season, there's a very clear setup for the end game of Westworld. You know what this has all been building up towards. And look, I understand a whole another season is going to be expensive. Maybe just do a TV movie. HBO does fantastic, series follow-up TV movies. Deadwood got one, Sopranos got one. So I mean, it's not unheard of. But no, they not only are we not getting a season 5, not only are we not getting a wrap up movie, where they took it off the service altogether, and just to save on royalties, which I think is just so disrespectful to a show that was huge for a long time. It wasn't Game of Thrones. It was not as big as what like Succession has been recently, but it was still a very big show, and people were watching it. And I feel like, especially with how they promoted and released the fourth season, I feel like they really didn't do themselves any favors with it. I feel like they kind of set it up to fail, and then when it did fail, they blamed it by getting rid of it, which I think was just so disrespectful. But anyway, I digress. That's my favorite type of media. Not just fun to watch and entertaining, but fun to talk about as well. And Bullet Train was definitely that.
Yeah.
And so that was Friday.
And I just want to say, I'm so glad that I'm going to film school, because now I can leverage that against people when discussing movies and be like, actually, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because you haven't studied the subject, which is like a complete bullshit argument, and I just do it to fuck with people. Actually, I think you guys are the only people that I've actually done that with. It was like in the Bullet Train discussion. I was like, well, you didn't go to film school, so you actually don't know what you're talking about. This movie is great.
Which, hey, I mean, it's a card. It's a card you can play. So I'm not going to.
It's a card I can play that everyone hates, and it actually is worth nothing in this in this very specific scenario.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was Friday, and then on Saturday was pretty much what we just discussed, and then we come to Sunday, which was a very, very special day. I would say probably the most special day of the whole trip. Because from the moment it started to the moment it ended, it was just, it was just incredible. And so so the scene opens on Sunday, right? This is our third full day on this trip. I believe, at this point, Greg has left us. Greg left the night before, but Taj is here now, so that's good. And that was how we discovered the issue with the other bed, where some of the slats in the second bedroom of the bed collapsed, just as we were hoping to put Taj up in there. And so poor guy still had to sleep on a mattress. After all, we tried to get him his own room, but I mean, I still don't know what happened there, because I mean, we did nothing to it. No one had even slept on it before. It just kind of collapsed. I guess it was already weakened, I suppose. But so it's back to the four of us in the Airbnb. And this is the morning of the World Cup final in Doha, Qatar. And it's not just the World Cup, but it's a very special World Cup, because our very good friend Emmanuel is Argentinian. His family's from Argentina, is from Argentina. And of course, in the final, you have France and Argentina. And so we are keenly aware that if Argentina wins, and Lionel Messi wins specifically, we will have witnessed history in the making. And so we were all very excited to watch the World Cup. And fortunately we were able to get it for free on streaming through the FIFA website or the NBC website, or one of them, which honestly I was shocked that they let us do that for free. Basically, you have like this hour-long window of time to watch the free stream, but then if you just go to a different browser, you can get another free hour and keep watching it.
Wait, really? I didn't even know that. I didn't even
know that's how we were able to get the whole game.
That's like the fucking WinRAR loophole.
Yeah, pretty much. And so we were able to get the whole game just from our Airbnb. And what a game. I mean, there have been some legendary World Cup finals with a lot of action, but you could really tell why so many people said that the 2022 World Cup final is quite possibly the greatest of all time, because it was back and forth.
Yeah, and then they had I guess it was 2-2. and then they had
3-3. Yeah,
3-3, and then
before
they
the
had
penalty
like
shootout.
yeah, but they also had like a time extension.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah, so
Um,
yeah, it was 2-2,
it
and
was
then yeah, we
2-2,
got
and then they had a
one
time
one more
extension,
each. Yeah,
and then they both scored a goal, so then it was 3-3. So then
yeah.
it extended into PKs. And I think it was like the last. PKs are like what 5 out of
Yeah,
9 or something like that?
you need
4 out of
four
7?
out of five, 4 out of 5, I think, something like that.
Yeah, but like um
First to four, basically.
yeah. Uh but we were like 1-1 the entire time. And
Yeah.
then I think on the third goal or third kick, France whiffed it. So
Yes.
then Argentina was up 1, and then they scored again
And that
and
sealed it.
won.
And
But it was like the most dramatic possible ending to a World Cup final you could have is what we got. Where it's
oh
like
yeah.
extended in every possible way, drawn out
Oh
as
yeah.
much as possible. The suspense was just crazy.
Yeah, basically in the first 45 minutes, it was looking like this was all Argentina all the time. They were aggressive, they were on offense, they were always on France's side. France couldn't seem to stop them. And that was when we got the first Messi goal, and we thought, hey, this is brilliant. France, they look tired. We don't know what's going on. They're playing conservative. The first half, we're all feeling great. Obviously, we're all pulling for Argentina, pulling for our friend, and the first half was looking really fantastic. And then we get into the second half, and Argentina scores again, great. But then, or no, France scores, then Argentina scores. So now it's 2-1 Argentina. And then just before we reach full time, France scores a second time. And now we're tied up. France really picked up in the second half. And it was clear now we have a game, because now it's France and now it's Argentina that's been running around the whole game. They're getting tired, and
Yeah.
France is picking up, and they could steal this thing right at the last second. And so we're tied up at 2-2, as you said, as we reach full time. We go into extra time. France scores again immediately. Now it's 3-2 France. Now we're really freaking out. But then, fortunately, I forget which of the players, maybe it was Fernandez, but they come in, and just before full extra time expires, we get another Argentinian goal, and now it's 3-3, and now we're going to penalties. And at this point, I mean, again, it was just the drama and the tension could not be higher. This is what FIFA and what all the TV networks want, because this is pure dramatic gold right here. I mean, this is the biggest drama on the biggest stage imaginable. And yeah, as you said, we go into penalties, and sure enough, I believe France scores 2, Argentina scores the winning 4. And that goalkeeper for Argentina, man, what an absolute hero. I mean, he talk about the eyes of the world on you and the hopes of and expectations of an entire country on you. And he performed heroically. Yeah. And so just an incredible game. And of course, we were all going crazy when the game was over and Argentina had won. Emmanuel just filled with pride for his country, for his homeland. All of us so happy for him. And honestly, I mean, even as largely non-soccer fans, I don't think any of us really pay attention to soccer outside of the World Cup. But you could not escape the feeling that this is history we're witnessing in real time here. I mean, Lionel Messi, with the World Cup win, the one accolade that he's always been striving towards, the only thing that he hasn't yet achieved, because, of course, he's already had an enormously accomplished career in the Copa America and in the European leagues with Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain. The only thing that he hadn't yet done to seal his case as the greatest of all time was winning the World Cup for Argentina. And at 35, when a lot of people were saying that he is now in the twilight of his career, he did it. He brought home the biggest trophy on the biggest stage in the world for his country. And in my mind, at least, sealed his case for the greatest footballer of all time. I mean, just what an unbelievable career. And, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, honestly, because even you can just tell the guy, for all of his immense success, he's incredibly down to earth. And actually, funnily
he earned
enough,
all of it too.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. I mean, he is. I mean, he's earned
phenomenal.
all of it, and now he's actually coming to the United States to play in the MLS right here, actually, for the Miami MLS team. So, he's going to become obviously, he'll play for a few years, but the real thing is once he's finished playing, the MLS are basically just going to give him his own team, which is going to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so he's about to become a tycoon here in the States as well. When honestly, I would not have been surprised if the Saudis, because Saudis are recruiting a ton of high dollar players to go play in Saudi. They probably offered him hundreds of millions of dollars to play in Saudi. They already got Ronaldo. They've already got a bunch of big stars. But no, he chose to come to the States, and he's going to be, he's essentially going to try to finish what Pele and David Beckham started when they came over here and tried to make soccer a bigger deal. And they largely succeeded in that. But I feel like Messi now has the star power to really get people to pay attention now that we've all just seen him do that on that stage.
Yeah.
And so, incredible game. What a special moment. And then after that, we went into New York City. And do you want to take over from here and to talk a little bit about what we did when we first got in the city?
Who? Where did we first go?
So we took the train in, and we first went to Radio City. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Obviously this is a Christmas trip. So we want to see all of the kind of holiday decorations. So we went to Radio City and we saw the tree at Rockefeller.
Yeah, Rockefeller Center.
Gorgeous
huge
tree.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then we just kind of started walking downtown from there.
From
we
Rockefeller
made our way
Center
down to the Battery eventually, but we stopped on Wall Street because that Wall Street also has a comparably large tree.
Yeah.
With actually a much prettier star on top too.
I would agree.
I think we all agreed.
Yeah.
But we were just like wandering around. We stopped in Starbucks for some hot chocolate, and we were like down at the Battery by the water. And it's just like, Christmas in New York, you can drink it in the air. You can
honestly.
It's so tangible.
Yeah.
It was just gorgeous. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was so wonderful. We went from Penn Station to Radio City to Rockefeller Center, and of course Rockefeller Center. I mean, everybody's there in Midtown, and so of course tons of crowds. We were able to get a few photos in front of the tree, but very crowded. I mean, it's just Midtown. It's all everywhere is crowded, but but we went there. Of course, that's an absolute must if you're going to be in New York around the holidays. And then after that, we pretty much we walked down Fifth Avenue for a bit. And then
we stopped at the cathedral.
Yes, yeah, that was downtown. Yeah, we as we were walking down Fifth Avenue, we actually ran into a few smaller attractions along the way. We took some photos in front of another Christmas tree in front of some building. We stopped by another ice rink, got some photos there, and then we took the subway.
We stopped at the Bryant Park.
Oh yes, we went down to Wall Street. We walked around, went to Trinity Church, which you guys didn't go inside. I went inside. I was just curious to see what the inside of it was. And it's a very lovely historic church. And obviously you have different memorials for the many eminent people who have been involved there and who are buried there. Alexander Hamilton foremost among them. And unfortunately, they weren't doing tours of the actual burial grounds that day. It was actually after hours by the time we got down there. But when you are exiting the church, you actually do just walk past the cemetery anyway. So I was able to see that, and that was very moving. And so lovely old church. And then from there we continued south to first we stopped at Starbucks, as you said. We got some hot drinks because everyone was feeling a bit chilly. And then we proceeded to the Battery, which I've said this before. Standing in Battery Park at the very southern tip of Manhattan, it truly feels like you're standing at the edge of the world. I mean, there's just nothing else like it, where you're in this metropolis, the so-called center of the world, and here you are at the very end of it, water on all sides. You've got New Jersey on one side, you've got Brooklyn on the other, but the land just ends. This massive metropolis just stops, and it makes for some really wonderful views. Cold as hell because obviously you're getting buffeted by all the wind off the water, but what an incredible place to wrap up our excursion in New York. And as we were walking down there, we started playing one of our favorite games, the geography game, which you actually introduced to Emmanuel and I in Allentown. So that was truly like coming full circle. And that was a lot of fun. And it was just a wonderful time. It was just a group of us hanging out, walking around New York, joking, seeing the sights, and just taking in the atmosphere of it all. And it was just absolutely wonderful. We got some fantastic photos from that day, and we eventually made our way back to Penn Station and caught the New Jersey Transit back home. But what an incredible day in New York. I mean, what an incredible day overall. Just to start with the World Cup and then end with that. It was exactly what we had hoped from this trip, and so much more besides. And then the next day was our last day. I was flying out that evening, so it was at this point Taj had to leave us at the end of New York. So it was just the three of us again, and it's kind of a nice circular nature to it. We started with the three of us, we ended with the three of us.
We also had to check out in the morning, so
yes,
just kind of threw everything in my car, and we were just driving around.
Yeah. We found this really terrific Korean barbecue place where we got a fantastic lunch. We had ever since I first introduced you to Korean barbecue when you visited me in California years ago.
Love Korean barbecue.
We have talked about how imperative it is that we go to Korean barbecue together again, and we found the perfect place in Jersey City. We had a fantastic lunch, just commiserated about everything that had happened in the last few days, how successful the trip had been. And then we wrapped things up at Liberty State Park, which, for those of you who don't, a huge waterfront park in Jersey City, looking with just a fantastic view of Manhattan. And there's actually a scene in this most recent season of Succession in episode 3 where Connor is getting married. And the episode's called Connor's Wedding. Of course, if you've seen the episode, you'll know that Connor's wedding is actually very much not the most important thing that happens in the event that happens in that episode. But in the episode Connor's Wedding, the actual wedding takes place in the very spot we were standing in Liberty State Park, overlooking Manhattan from the Jersey side. And so I'm a big Succession fan. I think this last season has been just fantastic. And so when I saw that in the season, I was like, oh, I literally have photos of myself standing right there, which was really cool. And so we just took in the views. They have this really great museum of the old rail terminal that used to that used to be there. Used to be one of the biggest rail hubs on the Eastern Seaboard, where the ferries would drop people off from Ellis Island. Then you can catch a train to virtually anywhere else in the country. You could go north, south, west. Can't go east.
The other direction.
Well, you know.
The ocean.
But to any of the other directions. And it's this huge museum. And that was the end of our trip. We from there got dropped off at the airport. Everything went incredibly smoothly, and that was it. But what a trip! What an incredible time! I mean, do you have any comments on that last day?
You should have brought a jacket, I will say.
Yes,
it was freezing.
I was probably decently ill prepared for the weather.
I both me and Emmanuel had like heavy winter coats on, and we were freezing our butts off. So.
Oh yeah, I
think it just speaks to your sheer willpower of just like willing to endure the colds and like harsh conditions in order to experience what you want.
Yeah, I certainly hope that that's the case, and not just again my stubbornness coming in. I will say that between 3 years spent living in California and 5 years spent living in Florida, my winter attire has really dwindled down to nothing. So I literally no longer own most of the appropriate winter clothes that I once did.
Yeah, I'm hoping you also haven't lost your constitution for cold weather.
Yeah, well, that was really what this was a test of, and what I discovered is I still have some of it. It's not quite as hardy as I might have been before, but there's still some of that there, which was good because basically all I had was this pretty light sweater on the whole time, and so, but just made do. And as far as I can tell, did not get frostbite from the experience, so I would call that a win. What an incredible trip. and just absolutely fantastic time. And what an incredible saga, from Allentown in April to the first New York trip in July to that trip in December. Who could have known at the start of last year that we would have been in a position to do this not once, not twice, but 3 times, and to have all 3 be so successful in their own ways, and for each to really build on what came before. I feel like over July 4th, we were able to do a lot that we weren't able to do due to time constraints in Allentown. And then in December, we were able to be a lot smarter about how we used our time after taking a kind of try everything approach in July.
Yeah.
And I just think it was just so wonderful, so incredible. So that was our 2022. And so even though we weren't doing this podcast, we did have that, and those are fond memories that will stick with us. And hopefully we'll be able to incorporate some more of those photos and videos and stuff that you'll get to see in the future. But that is basically the recap of what happened, and why you may hear us talk about it so wistfully in the future. That is why. Those are really wonderful experiences.
And who's to say what happens next too?
Yeah, there's even been some thought given to doing it again this year in some form or fashion. Obviously, we would all love to. So hopefully that's something that can happen. We'll have to see. But that, of course, brings us to now, and to deliver on what we promised to explain to you, which is, so what are we doing back now? What do we want to change? What do we want to stay the same? And what are some things that you can expect from us going forward? So I think the most important thing that we want to stress is, again, we're getting back to basics with this. I think in the past we've gotten so caught up in what the show is and what the show should be that it
gets in the way of just doing the show.
Precisely. And so, listen, we love doing the reviews, and there will be more reviews of things, and there will be more of the more random stuff too. We have a bunch of new segments that we want to try out, just new episode ideas that we'd like to share with you guys. And so I think you're going to see a mix of both of these different, I guess, theses. Is that the plural thesis? Theses?
I think it's theses.
Okay, a theses of what the show should look like, I guess. We hopefully we're gonna be able to do this on a regular basis. We want to try to get an episode to you every week.
If not, that's okay too. I mean, the whole goal is to just do it and make it when we can about whatever we want. And if that is every week, that's great. If not, that's okay. We get busy, life gets in the way, but we're doing it because we love it. So.
Absolutely. And this time we're here for the long haul. We've had extensive discussions about how we want to handle this coming back. It's not just a spur of the moment thing. And so, our hearts are in it. We love doing it. And we just want to get back to what caused us to fall in love with it in the first place, which is talking about stuff that we love, and just because we love talking to one another. And so, if you are back with us on this ride, thank you so much for being here, and we hope to make you proud, and make some stuff that is marginally enriching. So with that, do you have anything else that you want to say about what's coming up?
I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to see. Visually, we might go through a couple small changes. We'll probably do away with the idea of seasons and just do a flat, these are the episodes you get them when you get them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. This kind of feels like a natural conclusion to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like a good place to wrap.
Absolutely. So thank you all so much for joining us on this triumphant return, can I say, episode of Observation Conversations. We are so happy to be back with you, and be on the lookout for more stuff from us very soon.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Did we ever pin down an outro? I don't know if we did.
Do you know, in all that time we never did. I guess we'll just keep winging it until something sticks.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. The
boys are back.
Tell your friends you love them.
Yeah,
and,
there you go.
And water your plants.
Put a little goodness out into the world.
Yeah.
I think that's always a good suggestion. And so with that, thank you all so much for watching, and we will speak with you again soon.